let people, the participants get set and ready, and we'll start in about 1 minute. Okay. Okay then, so welcome all to the Felicity's workshop on school environments and how to make them safer, healthier and friendlier for children. Before that, before giving an introduction to the theme, let me first give a big thank you to our participants today, our speakers. I'll just introduce them. We've got Silvia Casoran. She's a district councillor here in Barcelona. She's an activist and an expert in sustainable mobility. We've got Gilles Namour, who's deputy mayor of Grenoble in France. We've got Sylvia Gauthreau. I hope I've said that okay. So yeah, from School Streets in London, and Clementine Sarro, hope I said that okay, Clementine, from Revolta Escolar, again here in Barcelona. So we've got two, if you like, panelists from institutions and two panelists from grassroots organizations. Format each speaker with the first two speakers, Gilles and Sylvia C. We'll call Sylvia Casoran C. I've been asked to prepare answers to a question about what can be done from the institutional level, local councils, local government, and Sylvia G and Clementine have been asked to explain to us their experiences about the promotion of school streets and safe environments for school environments from the grassroots level. So they'll answer their question and give their experiences. There'll be a question for all, and then we'll throw it open to the public, and you can ask your questions on the chat, which is opened up on the right-hand side of your screens. Before we start, let me just offer a few words about the theme and why the theme is on the program. I think in many ways it's one of those themes that in quite a short period of time, perhaps it's become quite important in its own right. Obviously, as we become more aware of the problems involved with unsustainable urban transport vehicles, etc., on the population, and also particularly on children in particular, health problems, learning problems, safety problems, lack of space to play problems, etc. This has developed into quite an interesting debate, an interesting movement, which has actually gained a lot of traction around, certainly in Europe and also beyond. So that's one thing. And also the other thing here, of course, is that from the point of view, I'm a political scientist, and I think it's interesting to look at how grassroots mobilization from schools is tremendously important and tremendously good at gaining traction for these kind of things. Parents are generally organized, they're obviously devoted to their children, and it makes them difficult to ignore by public powers. And I think that's two good reasons why we see an increase in interest for this type of this movement. So today then, as I say, we've got, apart from the institutional representatives of Gilles and Sylvia Casoran, we've got two grassroots speakers who are going to look at their experiences from the street, if you like, and how they've been able to influence and promote the kind of school environments that we all would always like for our children. Okay, so without more ado, I'm going to ask Sylvia and Gilles. I don't know who wants to go first. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Gilles, as you come from further away, Gilles, then you start, please, Gilles.
No, I was just saying that we should start with Sylvia, but no.
Okay, Sylvia. Sylvia Casoran, then would you start to talk about the kind of urbanism that we can use and that has been used in order to promote safe school environments in Barcelona. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, John. Thank you, Gilles, for letting me in first. Let me share the screen. I know some people are not going to watch the screen, but I will try to be explicit with the images, because I always think we need to show what's going on with images. It's much more easy to explain. Well, of course, we had school programs already for a long time. We've got a arenas program with the schools as climate shelters. We are working with it already for some years, and this is going on. We are also working with more sustainable schools program. Of course, we used to work with the Safe Ways to School program, but this was meant mostly about signalization of the public space, and also involving the local communities like local shops to protect the kids. But it wasn't taking a space from cars, and we think that's the key. 2 years ago, Hugo, a boy of 5-year-old, was killed in front of his school in Barcelona. And since then, our mayor, Ada Colau, took the commitment to put the kids in the middle of the planning of the city. And with this image, you see we've got in Barcelona almost 600 schools, almost 200,000 students. And the schools, of course, are spread in the whole city. So by putting kids in the middle and by putting the protections of the schools in the center of the planning of the city, we can really transform the whole city. The commitment of our mayor is that by 2023, we will get 200 traffic calm schools. And I will tell you now how this program is going. The objectives are improving environmental conditions, both air quality and noise. We know air quality is something difficult to change just by changing one spot, but then when we change the whole city, also with other programs, of course, like super blocks and new bike lanes, then we are making the change. The second objective is improving public space comfortability. The third one is about safety. Of course, the life of our kids is the main reason to work here. Also improving visibility of the school surroundings, and of course, involving education and neighbors communities during the whole process. We are prioritizing the schools with 0 to 12-year-old, so primary schools and also nurseries. Also, we work together with the local police to detect which are the safety problems. We are also including mainly schools that are already active in other programs, because we want to involve them and to make sure that they are active. We're also taking into attention the district petitions. In Barcelona, we've got 10 districts. And so we want to work together with the territories, and also the high environmental detective problems. But in Barcelona, it's a general problem because the whole city is polluted. So, but it's true that the streets where we've got more traffic, then we've got more problems. So for the moment, we traffic calm almost more than 100 schools in the years 20 and 21, and the rest are coming in this next year. And by 23. So 120 schools are in the program Let's Protect Schools, but other 80 schools, they are traffic calm by other programs like new bike lanes or super blocks program. You can see this is the map of the schools that are already under the program. So this is, again, the concept of the whole city has to be transformed. So the measures are basically traffic calming measures by reducing space for cars, both from driving and from parking. The maximum speed in the main streets is 30 kilometers per hour, has to be signalized yet, and 20 in the secondary streets. We're also putting chicanes and different signalization. We are also, the second action is improving habitability. We are creating places to stay around the schools. The third one is visibility. We are now working with a new, how you say, carpet. When you enter at the school areas. The one in the picture is the one we are working now with, but we've got a new one that will be introduced very soon, which is much nicer and visible. We are also involving local communities to decide what elements and what kind of games they want in front of their schools. And here I will show you some results from the last 2 years with some images of the kind of actions we are implementing. These are, of course, creating nice places to stay with new greening, new benches, new games. They are all tactical urbanism measures, so they are quite cheap. We consider like 60,000 euros per school to spend. It depends on the school, of course, and on the measures, but that's the average. We are putting fences. We are not really happy with this, but for the moment, also families are asking for that to really protect, not to segregate the space from the cars. And we are using this kind of balls, as you see at the images, that they are used both for resting, for the families to sit down, and for the kids to play. The nice thing of these spaces is that they are also used not only at the entrances of the schools, but also by the neighbors at any other time. So they are new places that we gain for the whole citizens, for everyone, not only for the school families. We are also putting new bike parks, because we want to promote active mobility, of course. And in Barcelona, when people go to the public school that is the nearest from home, they usually go on foot. But especially in the secondary period, you have to walk farther, and we want to promote also the bike to get there. And well, you see here, in the end, you see here the difference with the sidewalk here to the right. So all this space that we are getting, it was used just from cars to park and to drive. So this is the nice thing of this program, that we are really taking a space from cars and giving it back to the people. There's some images. When it's possible, we try to close the street to the traffic, but that's not always possible. But sometimes, like the one in your image, we can do that. And we've got some fence that can be open also if necessary. So for the moment, we gain 14,000 square meters from cars to people. It was affected to 36,000 students, but still in Barcelona, we've got 200,000 students, so we still need a long way to go. The budget for the moment is 9 million euros. So we are creating 70 new playing areas, 300 benches, 300 bike parking, litter bins, and 800 green pots. So here you see the actions that we took. We removed 14 driving lanes. We removed 43 parking lanes. We got 17 new streets prioritized for pedestrians, 4 new bus lanes, 7 new bike lanes, and 12 radars, speed controls to check the speed. We are also monitoring the actions from a previous and post action from the environmental impact point of view, and also from the use of public space, together with the Environmental Quality Department, the Public Health Agency, and ES Global. So we are following the impacts quite closely. And we've got a web page, but it's only in Catalan. But you can see here all the actions that are taking place in the streets in Barcelona, in the schools, with a specific place for each school. And this is mainly what we are doing in Barcelona city. Maybe we could do more, but we think this is a quite ambitious program. And of course, we hope that by 2030, the 600 schools in Barcelona are traffic calm around. Thank you, John.
No, thank you, Sylvia. That was very nice. Thank you. Gilles?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here with you. Just some word. I'm not really used to speak in English about public spaces, so please forgive me if I'm not fully understandable. Well, okay, I'm going to tell about a project rather than an achievement, but a project that is underway just right now. This is a strong item promoted during the last municipal campaign. This project is called Children's Square or Places for Children. In France, this is Place aux Enfants. More than just closing the streets in front of the school, we prefer to say that we are going to free the street in front of school from car traffic. This is a project at the crossroad of issues of air quality, adaptation to climate change and sustainable mobility. Those Places for Children project led by the city of Grenoble represent a major tool for transforming the public spaces. By acting on security around school, of course, this project makes it possible to calm motorized traffic and also to offer friendly public spaces within the neighborhood. While continuing to demineralize the soil and also revegetate the area. The municipal program provides that these children place and space are space preserved from urban pollution, converted into island of freshness and biodiversity. This is the objective. The transformation of this street will offer new public spaces which will be as many new places of life, new centralities in the neighborhood available to all. These spaces must constitute a privileged, inclusive, intergenerational, and lively place for exchange and meeting. So we are not going to just close the street at the school, or we aim to change definitively and totally the use of this street. Those new places constitute a new type of public spaces in every neighborhood. In fact, pedestrianized space reserved for pedestrian, for active mode, also, of course, for emergency and service vehicle. Of course, this is also a vegetated space and an island of freshness. The soil is demineralized, there is water point, and there is trees planted in the street. There is a new vegetation and a new use for the street. This is a peaceful street for the neighborhood with new activities in it. This is a convivial space with installation of street furniture that will transform the street into convivial public space, encouraging exchange and the development of social ties, lively space, and also concerted space, because if we have decided to remove, to stop traffic, car traffic. On the contrary, we want to build the street with the resident, with the user, with the professor, with the children, all the local stakeholders, in fact. And also, we want to have a kind of a unique space everywhere in Grenoble, in the city. We want the street to be identified by people at first sight with some symbol, with some specific furniture that make it visible for everybody. In Grenoble, there is 61 public school that welcome 12,000 of children. We have done a multifactorial analysis combining the security of the area around the entrance of the school, the air quality, and the level of greening of the street, as well as the number of students to initiate reflection about and define the most suitable spaces. And to take the good opportunity for intervention as soon as possible, and this year. Certain streets are too complex for an immediate intervention, so we will need to have additional analysis to transform those complex streets. But for the rest, we will act this year. So it means that in September, 15 streets currently open to motorized traffic, serving the surrounding of 15 school or school group, will become pedestrianized in September this year. The other school will be analyzed for a second step. There is also 22 schools that are already pedestrianized, and we will work also on this street to make them more convivial, to make playful space at the neighborhood level in front of the school. This street that will become some place. We insist on the fact that this is no more street. This is no more place from just to transit. This is now a place when you stay, when you meet people, when you do activity. Will be built everywhere in the street for everybody, not just for children or not just for the parent of the children, but for the population and children, for all the population in the neighborhood, young and old, younger and older, that will be able to meet, to enjoy those places of life. This is why this is important, that to build those streets with inhabitants. So from September, after the fact that the street will be closed, just after that we will have a discussion with resident, user, school children, to enrich this space according to the needs of the resident, of the neighbor. Of course, vegetalization will be the main objective of the transformation of the street. But the idea is to reinvent, to have a playground, to have different uses in this street. So it means that we have a transitional phases from September in those 15 first streets. Just some the first step with just the fact that the street will be closed. We will use a toolbox to activate these spaces and encourage new uses. This is a set of playful devices, seats, which will visually transform the liberated street. This device should encourage new use and a new appropriation of public space. This first use base will be supplemented later by iteration of the work with the inhabitant, user, and children. And then there will be other phases from September next year. We will continue the studies of a gradual transformation of this street, and then the second phase or the third phase will be the objective to intervene on every school street of the town, with the objective to achieve 5 to 6 streets per year in final development. I mean, with a complete furniture, complete transformation, complete vegetalization of the street. This is the way we will act. We will transform the town and based on school, on courtyard, and on the street to achieve a better environment for all children, more safe, security, and with better air quality. This is, I think, what I have for this presentation.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Gilles. Very interesting. We'll come back and discuss each. I mean, I've certainly got lots of questions to ask you. I'm sure the public has as well. So we'll move on now to either Clementine or Sylvia G. Whoever wants to start and to tell us about their experiences as grassroots organizations in promoting this kind of redefinition of public space that both Sylvia C and Gilles have been talking about. So who would like to start?
Thank you, John. Do you want to go ahead, Clémentine?
Yeah, okay. I saw you on mute. I thought you were going to go ahead, but it's okay, no problem. So where to start? I think that in Barcelona specifically, the pandemic really made the existing problem more obvious for school specifically, because with the obligation to ventilate the classrooms all day, to have windows open all day, the pollution and the noise from outside came into the classrooms, and that made obvious really big problems for the children. Also, the social distance that we made obligated to have more space to at the entrance. The parents had to be more separated, waiting for the kids, taking the kids, etc. It made more obvious that we need more space around schools because there was a lack of space. We were all crowded in Barcelona. In many schools, there is very little space to get the kids to school. So you just take him and you're crowded. So with the obligation of social distance, it made more obvious that we need more space. So all of that was really, I think, a catalyzer of what then became the social preoccupation for these issues. And also the fact that after the pandemic, the levels of pollution got really high again, really fast. They were already that way before the pandemic, but it really went down, and everybody said, well, that's good, but then it really went up really fast afterwards and got back to what it was before. And there above in Barcelona, most of the time, the levels around the schools are above the limits recommended by the World Health Organization. And many pediatric associations also became to warn that this become concerns about the consequences that these levels can have on young kids for cognitive development issues, respiratory diseases appearing on kids from a very young age. So all this led to a reaction. And of course, the city council was already proposing what Sylvia explained, that there is a plan. This is quite wide about making the school areas safer and reduce pollution and everything. But I suppose that it wasn't happening fast enough or widely enough. And so many school associations of parents decided to begin to protest for different reasons, because every school is specific and has its own problems, depending on the area, depending on the school, really. And also, in my case, we just wanted to get included in the plan. Because the plan, of course, was included a number of schools, and in Barcelona, I can't tell you how many schools there are. Maybe Sylvia has the number, but not all the schools were included. So all the schools that weren't began to think, I want to be included too. And that was okay, and this is why we joined what would later be called the Revolta Escolar, the school rebellion. This is a very strong word for a very non-violent movement. But so we began to protest, a little number of schools at the beginning, and then it grew quite fast. Every 2 Fridays, we would cut the traffic in front of schools all together at the same time, just for half an hour in the afternoon, when the kids went out of school. And we began to do the cuts of traffic, these protests, and it grew, and the movement became more organized as well as we grew. And it went out of Barcelona and out of Catalonia then. And now there is the Revolta Escolar, School Rebellion I don't know if there are in all cities in the Spanish state, but many cities. I think there is even one in Ceuta, which is very, very south of Spain. So I think this shows that the problem is everywhere, and the need for these measures is everywhere, even if we are in very different cities and very different problematics. But the need to protect the schools and to protect children from traffic and from pollution is the same. So this is why parents responded to that call, to protest. What more can I tell you? That there was always other initiatives for support to even toward parents to incentive the sustainable mobility. Most of the families in Barcelona can go to school by walking, but not all of them. Some of them are taking their cars or taking the kids in motos even. But there is now a movement that is trying to motivate the parents to get their kids to schools by bicycle. And of course, the bicycle parcha, la red. I don't have the word in English. The bicycle lanes is quite developed. Networks, thank you. Is quite developed, but it's not there yet. So they began to organize bici bus, biking bus. That's a group of bicycles going by the neighborhood in the morning, and all the kids joining in, all the parents and kids and bicycles joining in, to make a big group that would be safer for the kids inside to go to get to the school. So these are interesting initiatives that just came out of a social and citizen movement that weren't really incentivized by any political party or anything. Our movement is totally apolitical. Is not even talking about politics, even though we have to get into politics to get things done, but we stay as much as we can out of it. So I certainly let things aside, but this is all I can think of for the moment. So if Celia wants to to continue.
Thank you very much. Sylvia from School Streets in London, if you'd like to
Yeah, thank you very much, John. I just would like to share the screen. So yeah, I do apologize for those of you who won't be able to see it. Okay. All right. So yes. So I'm Sylvia. I'm from London. I'm French originally, but I live in London. So just quickly, so my journey was, I had no idea of all this chaos outside the school. I only realized when I had my own children. And as you can see, this is outside my primary school at the moment. This is like that pretty much every day. And it's just awful. And we roll with a cycle, with that kind of cycle, so it's cargo bike that goes to school. And so when I was faced with that, with things like that, this is when I thought, surely there must be a better way. That's just not possible to carry on like that. So I started researching, and I've realized that, I mean, those kind of measure when you protect the children, when it's a time closure, just to protect the children when they arrive to school and when they leave school, actually was going on in Italy in the 1990s. And in Scotland in 2015, and then one borough in London, in Camden, started one in 2017. When I started looking at this, because that was the perfect solution for the problem that we had in our school, all the information was very much fragmented. It was really difficult to find. You had to go through the council website and look all the evaluation report and everything. So I've put everything together in a bit of a research paper. And I've submitted this to my local council saying, look, this is what I think we need for this school. So then they kind of started looking into it, and they've developed a program. And then I've done the same with another council, another neighborhood council. And since I had all this information, I thought, okay, I may as well put that outside for everybody else to use that. So that's when I created the website. The School Street website. So the school, I didn't invent School Street. It was a concept that existed before. I've just kind of put the information out there to help people. And also as far as the legal framing of those measures, the local authority had the powers to do that since the 80s. This is an act of parliament that says, if you think that the road users are in danger, you have the power to close the street to protect them. So it's really nothing new, and it was really frustrating that nothing was done until one borough in London started to kind of look at it. It's also, in terms of budget for a city, it's quite cheap when you look at how much benefit it's actually you yield with that. In relative terms, obviously. The School Street could be as part of a wider scheme like a low traffic neighborhood or home zones that I think you have in Holland and Belgium and all those cities where you prioritize people over motor vehicles. And it's also very much needed because, as other speakers have said earlier, we all know that there's road danger, in particular during drop-off and pick-up time for the children. Pollution is up. Casualty among children is up during those times. And there's also quite a lot of studies that show that for the past 40 or 50 years, the percentage of children walking and cycling to school has considerably dropped, and that has increased, a level of mental health issues, poor physical health issues for children. And this is something that is really important because if you have an active lifestyle and the recommended physical activity that you need as a child, you will carry that throughout your adulthood. So anyway, so in London or in the UK, this is how they look like, School Street. So you can use removable bollards, you can have cameras, then that reads the registration plate of the cars and it will be signed automatically. Or during COVID, as Clementine said, there was a most urgent need to protect the children because we had staggered time. So it was, instead of having like 30 minutes of children coming in and out, we would have been on an hour and a half. And the pavements are really small as well in London. So they have those kind of emergency School Streets. So School Streets, we know there's quite a lot of research and evidence that show that they do meet they achieve the aim, so which is a safe street, cleaner air, active travel, independent mobility, and better well-being for children. And the parents support it in that. So I'm just going to go quickly through this because I think we all know the road danger and the perception of road danger is something, because if you have like a little child next to that car, it just doesn't make you, it doesn't invite you to go and cross the road because it's just very scary. We know that the pollution is really bad on all sorts of organs, and the children in particular. It will damage their growth and stunt their lungs. It's really important, and road transport is mostly responsible for all the pollution outside school and in the street in general. Active travel, physical activity, very important, and independent mobility, because we've lost that as well. This is an example put on the map there that in 1990, for instance, a child age 8 could be left to walk independently 6 miles. Now you're kind of lucky if you can go at the end of the street without adult supervision. So again, there's a wide consensus for better. Parents want it. Children are naturally active. That's what they want. And it's not the job of teachers to do traffic cordon and to calm the traffic outside the school gate. And I think there's a better awareness now about air quality. So I'll stop here and I'll continue sharing for the questions. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Sylvia. Again, that's it's a really interesting take on what's happening from, the perspective of parents. We've got a bit of time left now for sort of less, if you like, structured questions. There's just one question I'd like to put forward, and then I'll invite the other participants to join in and ask. I think the main question that a lot of people who are involved in these kinds of movements for change come up against is the opposition to it. Just if each one of you could think about what has to be done against very well funded, very well organized opposition groups to this kind of fundamental change in the way we use public space and streets. And I'm thinking about, motoring organizations in particular, the media, certain political parties. How can we challenge this? And I'll throw that open to you in any order, anyone.
Well, let me go first. I think the nice thing of this movement, of this rebellion schools movement, is that no one is discussing when you put kids in the center of the decision. I mean, when you talk that we have to protect the security, the safety, the environmental conditions of our kids, no one is gonna be against this. So I really think this movement is really powerful, and we have to take profit of this movement that the parents are leading from the public bodies to really transform the city in the way we want. I mean, we are transforming the city, of course, with other strategies, but with the schools strategy, I think that's our main push to really transform the whole city. So I think that's this program is very ambitious, but it's very powerful as well. So
is that other people's experience here?
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure.
So I think there's various approaches to this. A direct action does work, to raise awareness, and then you can start this as a starting a conversation about this. So what School Rebellion does, I think is good. There's people they've been doing that for quite a while, but I think you need to kind of top this up with planting the seeds for change. And obviously you're asking people to change something they've been used to for so many years. So it has to be a conversation, face to face if possible, online, yeah, that could be useful. But you need to kind of to remain positive as well. ensuring the gain. Because yes, people are going, we have a human tendency to kind of look at the negative side. So there might be a bit of a loss. The gains are just so much greater, and you need to kind of explain that to people and to bring it back to their own level. So I think that would be my, it's just to keep the conversation, to own that space. Because for far too long, we've been waiting for the local authority to do something, and sometimes they don't do anything because there's a bit of complacency, or, you know, again, change is scary and they are afraid. I think they need to know that it's just not sustainable not to do nothing. We've passed that point now. So, and form coalition, you know, if you have a completely different range of people asking the same thing, it will have an impact. So, you know, get in contact with that. So clean air group, XR, walking, cycling, the elderly, because the elderly, it's a huge challenge for them to have streets which are dominated by cars. People with disability, mobility, stability, sensory stability, all those people, they all will benefit from a more equity and access to the street. And for the outside the school, with children, you know, we have to protect the children. So, yeah.
Yeah, Gilles, from the point of view of someone who's in local government, do you find it more difficult to ignore this kind of pressure from you know, from schools, from parents?
No, but it has been said, when you talk about security, when you talk about your children, we have no difficulties in to go on this subject. The issues, the difficulties that we encounter concern, in fact, a very small percentage of the population. This is clearly the case at Grenoble. But the issues, the cries of the opponent are heard more than the smiles of the supporter. In fact, we have the support of the population. We have the support of many of the people, and but it takes political courage. It takes perseverance. But for me, we have to bring with us the parents. We have to bring with us the inhabitants, the people who are favorable. Generally, they don't talk about. They don't express themselves because they are just happy that now from near the school it is safer. It is more appropriate to the child. But the issue is that, for example, in some school you have hundreds of children, and there is only 5 or 6 parents that still come with their car and want to park just in front of the enter of the school. Just 5 or 6, and they make the danger. They make the issue to change to change anything. But when you have all the parents plus the political courage to change, it works, in fact. And when it is done, 1 month later, nobody talk about this. It is a fact. It works, and you can go to the next subject.
Thank you. Clementine, is this your experience? That, I mean, you said you've had a lot of, Revolte Escolar has had a lot of success, and do you think it's because of the power of children, if you like, and the power of schools to move things, that it becomes more difficult to ignore?
I think that the success is because the need to change is very big, but there is also a resistance to change that exists. I've experienced it. I think most of the parents that are involved in the movement in Barcelona have experienced the commentaries and protestation. The protests have very often been criticized by drivers. They're not happy, of course, that they cannot take the street that day. It becomes a problem. The main commentary is, yes, it's really resistance to change, because it says this is a city, and it was a city for them is a polluted, with a lot of traffic, And it has to be this because this is the definition of a city. And if you don't want to live in the city, if you don't want your children to live in the city, don't go to the mountains. I've heard it a lot. And it's just the way it is because people are, it's just the way they think and they want, it's really, really difficult to make them change their way of thinking. But I'm optimistic in the way that I think that the next generation, the younger people that will be a lot more conscious, like Sylvia said, no, this is not sustainable anymore. We passed that, so that's true. And I think the next generation will be more conscious and will be more prepared to accept the change, and will be every time it will be easier. I hope, and but they have to have it easy too. Because if you change things, you have to give an alternative. You just can take all the cars away and just tell to everybody that they have to walk to work. It's not sustainable either. So you have to give a public transport that is prepared to be really efficient. It has to be easier to take the public transport than to take your cars, etc. So it's bigger than the school problem. It's a mobility problem in general. But yeah, I hope that with education and just the way of thinking evolving, our children will have it better, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we've got some people who's in the public here. We've got Diego, Paco, Romana, Ruth, Sandra, Simona. And we'd love to hear from you what your views are, and if you have any questions for the panel here, we'd be more than happy to answer them. So if you want to use the chat to ask questions, please feel free. Okay, we've got one here. Do you think it's harder to make safer private schools environments than public schools, or it doesn't matter?
At Grenoble, we have chosen to address first the public school. For me, there is no difference, but the idea was that we have more link with professors from the public schools than from the private. But in another project of pedestrian street, there was a private school in that street, and this is a street of the real center of the town. And at the end of the discussion, it does not change anything. In fact, the only issue is that in private school there is more people that are coming far from the school, while in public this is clearly the school of the neighbor. So we had to discuss about some place for around the area to allow the parents to come in car, but at the end they understand clearly the issue, the problem of security, the problem of air quality in the street, and no issue for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sylvia C, you have a program with, is your program with public schools generally, or with private schools as well, or?
No, well, it doesn't matter for us. I mean, all kids are kids and they deserve to be protected. I think the difference, it's not if it's private or public, it's about the location of the school and about how families are getting the schools. It's true that there are more private schools that are not proximity schools. So probably with some private schools, but in Barcelona, many of them are in the city itself. So it's the same. I mean, most of kids can also walk. It's true. Some of them that are located near the ring road and that probably people go there more than by car, then it could be more difficult to implement this kind of measures. But from our point of view, there's no distinction. I mean, we don't make this difference.
Can I have something?
Yeah, sure.
To follow up, I think, the selection process should be based on, road danger, perception of danger, the type of street still, because sometimes it's in a cul-de-sac or, but also, as Sylvia just said, that for us in the UK, school streets are not suitable for main roads, for instance. And there's quite a lot of schools on main roads, and main roads are usually have huge level of pollution, quite high. So obviously you cannot at the moment close that street, even if it's just an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon. But this is when you can actually change it by doing some vegetable, adding plants and greening and stuff like that. But also cycle lanes, and really support the families going to school in a more sustainable way, and support all the residents or anyone who's passing the street to do it cycling or public transport.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question here for Sylvia from Rowana. She asks, are the 585 schools in Barcelona, are they public schools? All schools? Public?
No. They are all the schools, also counting with the nurseries and high schools. So we are considering the age from 0 to 16-year-old. This is the range we are focusing at.
Okay.
And in Barcelona, probably I think less than 50% are private, but most of them are not really private, but half subsidized, and they are located also in the city center, and people reach them by foot. Yeah, but we are also getting some criticism because we didn't make this distinction, and some people to think that we should prioritize the public schools. But for us, I mean, where the kid was, where Hugo was killed 2 years ago, it was a private school. I mean, we need to protect them all. It's not about private or public. In this case, for other reasons, then we could talk about it. But in this case, with public space, we are considering them the same.
Okay, thank you. Okay, from Paco Gonzalez then. What challenges have been found with implementing this experimental approaches within for people working in local government or without public institutions? For example, evaluation, implementation, and this kind of policy as usual of any local government. So, yeah, so challenges from inside and outside. For those of you working, for example, Gilles and Sylvia, what challenges have you found within your organizations? And Clementine and Sylvia G, what challenges have you found with people outside of local government? Sylvia, you're on screen.
Yeah, okay, I do. I saw Gilles was on mute, but I think we are getting some internal challenges between departments sometimes, because some departments feel that they need to defend the car capacity, which I understand it's also something we have to take care of in the city. But once the decision is taken, then the opposition is not there anymore. I mean, the discussion should we be more ambitious? I mean, and instead of removing one car lane, maybe removing 2, and maybe reducing the speed. I mean, this is something we didn't do until now, but now with the main streets, the main roads, we are putting the speed down to 30 kilometers per hour. So I think that's a big step. But we are still always discussing that in the main roads, we need to keep 1 bus lane, 1 bike lane, and 2 lanes for cars. And this could be under discussion as well. Why do we need 2 cars, two lanes for cars? Maybe we should already think with just one car lane to cross the city. I mean, these discussions are going on, but once we take the decision, then the people are accepting the measures. I mean, it's not like with super blocks or with other measures people are still discussing, no, when they are implemented, but not with the schools protection measures.
Okay, Gilles, did you find any internal opposition within the local authority in Grenoble to this kind of development?
Not really from the institution.
The local police, for example?
Yeah, clearly. The issue is that because we are in a kind of transition, I mean, there is some experimentation. We will not close physically all the street because we are not able to do that in September. So it means that we will just say that this is a pedestrian street, so you are not supposed to go in this street with your car, and we hope that people will obey, will act properly. So of course, municipal police, local police is wondering how they are going to control this in the first step, because of course we know that in September we will have some parents that will continue to go in the street with their car to bring their children just in front of the street, and we will have some difficulties. So of course, police is wondering how it works, but we are working with them from the beginning in that project. This is really a global project, and everybody is implicated in that project. We have already done, because we want to promote clearly active mobility and more especially bicycle. From the 6 year before now, we have done a lot in Grenoble to develop infrastructure for bicycle. We have already reduced speed limits in the whole town to 30 kilometers. We have some streets where it is even 20 kilometers because there are area of meat. I don't know how to say that in English, but some specific street where pedestrians are prioritary on the car.
Prioritized, yeah.
Okay, so it is already done. Now we are just looking at the street just in front of the school, and of course we need to have police with us, but we also count on the parents in the street. They will be very major to just to say to other people that they are not acting properly when they are not respecting just the indication that the street is no more street for car. So we suppose that everybody can be part of the success of this story.
Okay, there's a couple more questions. This next one is for Sylvia G and Clementine. And it's from, what's the name? What do you think must be the role of families in creating the new areas around the schools? I mean, if you can give, if you could sort of give a blueprint, you know, some guidelines, how can families best come together in order to promote this kind of redefinition of public space?
If I go first. So I think, again, sharing knowledge. Some people, you know, you've got different people with different availability in terms of times or skills. So just to kind of find a way. I mean, in my school, we did create like a steering group. So we would be meeting, discussing different things and, you know, the best approach. So because that's one thing, don't do it alone because it's really difficult. It grounds you down, and because sometimes local authority work very slowly, it could be years. So don't do it alone. So form coalition, form groups within the families there, speak to residents. And also another thing that I found is quite a lot of people don't really know how the local authority, the inner workings of the local authority, so they don't know, you know, how much powerful a councillor is. And so who are the councillors? So a lot of people don't know that. So maybe also to explain that, you know, to equip them with the tools, to empower them with the information and how the process So that's one aspect. And also has, I think Clemente mentioned that, help support the people who want to change as well. So with thinking of ways how children can come together to school with a pedie bus or cycling bus and things like that. That's quite good. I've seen in schools where they've come up with maps, like a green map, showing which roads you can take, which is nice. And every day you can do a different one. You know, it could also be a playful way to go to school as well, just to make it interesting. So it's all these little ideas. I mean, that's the thing. More you meet with people and more creative you become. And it needs to be, it's just to take away this, to control this now. This is our school run, and we, you know, we want it safe and we want it nice. And we're not going to take that car domination anymore. So it's just, yeah, just to stimulate people and creativity.
Yeah, Clementine, would you like to?
No, just the good thing with the school rebellion movement is now that it's became so big that we're like they call us now to know what we think. So that and we organize and we have a structure that is we like separated by group strategy, like a group asking families what they think about, for example, the colors they have to paint the street, and they ask their opinion about that, for example. So that's really good. Now at the every school level, it depends a little of the school to know that if they will involve more or less the families. I think that the families would should be as much involved as possible. But it also depends on the school, you know. Some schools are like 3 people fighting for the whole school, and some other are like a bigger group of people with more participation. It depends. But the whole movement is now like really an interlocutor for the city council. So that's an achievement for us, really.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll have a last question out now. We've got one from Sandra. It's an interesting one. I don't think probably any of us have thought about here. Should there be more European regulation with protection rules for all schools?
Well, on my side, I think that it would help. It would help the different community, different countries to have some common rules around schools. It would help us to do, just because we will be obliged to do, just because also we could exchange about the best practice between countries to enhance the way we are doing. We have some. We will have some very good example. We will have some difficulties, and clearly it would help to get different experience from other country, other towns. So having a kind of European regulation could also make things going further and speeder and quicker. I mean.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Sylvia? Yeah, from my side, well, in Catalonia, we've got since 2007 regulations about equality, and they specify schools and hospitals. And I mean, just for being a regulation, it doesn't mean it's gonna be there taken seriously. And in fact, in Barcelona and Madrid, we are not following the European rules about air pollution in the cities to protect our citizens. And well, we are always, there are some fines coming, but because we show that we do some low emission zone or we do this or that, then they are saying, okay, take your time. But I mean, our citizens are not getting the European law already exists and we are not accomplishing it. I mean, not about the schools, but in general. So, I mean, yeah, of course, all the rules are welcome, but what we need to do is that we need political will to accomplish this.
Yeah. Anyone else? Sylvia G or you know, Clementine, would it help you as activists to have a European regulation, at least to allow you to move quicker, do you think?
Yes, I think it would be great to implement the existing regulation, like Sylvia said. It's to be able to get to respect all the regulations would be great, and the new regulations will be hard to follow as well, because in Barcelona now it's the speed limit should be 20 kilometers per hour around every school in the city. But it won't happen in a day, nor in a month, nor the existing regulation is already quite good. If we can get to respect the existing regulation, I think that would be already nice. That's my opinion.
Sylvia G, we've had Brexit, so I don't think you.
For us, it's not going to change anything. But you know, as Sylvia said, you know, a regulation is as good as how much enforced it is, and that's the problem, because we are already all in breach of pollution limits and things like that. So, I mean, you know, do we really need someone to tell you what to do when we all know what we need to do? It's just down to political will. There's no regulation on political will, and that's what's missing. So.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much. Okay, well, that's 75 minutes, just bang on 75 minutes. I think that's been, for me anyway, looking on sort of the outside, it's been really enriching listening to you all. I think it's been really nice, the balance between a more institutional perspective and a more grassroots perspective. And I think what we've seen is that there's the symbiosis. I mean, on the one hand, we need institutions to move things and to listen to people, but we also need people to make noise and to move in this direction. So there's a symbiotic relationship between the two. And when that does come together, and I think it is coming together in these sorts of experiences we've looked at, I think in Grenoble and Barcelona city councils are moving in this direction, and there are organizations that are also pushing people to move in that direction. So, you know, in many ways, that's the sort of seems to be the sort of key to success. Thank you all again for your presentations and your time with us, and thank you even more so to the people to listen to us and for your questions over the chat. I hope you've learned as much as I have today, and again, thanks very much to everyone. Thank you now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Stay safe.